Okay, let's call the meeting to order. It's 6:03. I'd like everyone to join us for a pledge of allegiance. Okay, I don't see the flag up. There we go. All right. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to ask for a moment of silence again for the people of Ukraine. Okay. Nate, can you administer a roll call?
All right. Director Vanris. Can you hear me? Director O'Connell?
Present.
Oh,
Director
you've
Dodd?
changed it. Pardon me. You've changed the format. Okay, so you want us to respond to? Got it.
Okay. Director Dodds?
Here.
Present. Director Meyer?
Here.
Director Vanris?
Present.
All right.
And Chief, I believe,
Director Landon's here.
yes.
Okay, with all members present, agenda amendments. Are there any requests to amend the current agenda? Having heard no requests to change agenda, we'll move forward to oral communications. Chief Chief Lackey, did any requests to address the board on a non-agenda item?
No, there's not.
Is there anyone that's watching? So, okay. No oral communications. Consent
Chair
calendar.
O'Connell, there is one hand raised.
Okay. Let's go ahead.
I'm going to unmute them. I believe this is Miss Becky Steinbrenner. Miss Becky, you have been asked to be unmuted.
Okay.
Hello, this is Becky Steinbrenner. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I think I'm coming in on telephone only, and I think that agenda item 1.3 was supposed to outline for those who are joining you virtually how to interact and raise our hand and all of that. So I just started punching buttons, numbers based on Zoom things that I've participated in, and happened to find *9 as being a way to raise my hand. So it would be, I think, of value and benefit to the public when I finish my comment, go over the virtual meeting process. I just want to again let you know that I am participating in your board meeting as well as the Scotts Valley Fire board meetings because I'm interested in this process. I followed the exact, not exact, but a very close iteration of this process that is before you with dissolution and merger in the Aptos La Selva Fire Department. And I want, there's some things that I learned in that process that I think would benefit your constituents and perhaps you as well. And that is the whole benefit assessment ballot process. Your engineer's report will outline all of that for you and outline the cost, but it also needs to provide alternatives. That is key to good governance and transparency. Also, what you need to know is that these, unlike regular ballots, are not secret ballots. People need to know that. They are public information. So anyone can go and see how you voted, how others voted, and they are weighted ballots typically. So the larger property owner's vote will count with more weight than will the property owner's vote of a smaller parcel or perhaps a lesser value property. But all of that will be
Ms. Becky.
determined in the engineer's report, and I think I'm up for time. But thank you very much, and I appreciate being able to participate in your meetings.
Yeah, thank you. Um, so let's go ahead and get to the consent calendar. There are 4 items under the consent calendar, and that the board can take one action to approve all the items under the consent calendar unless a member of the public or a board member wishes to pull an item for discussion. Ask if anybody would like to pull an item out of the consent calendar. Having not heard anyone request to pull an item out,
Chair, we do have a hand raised for this item.
okay,
Ms. Becky, you've been asked to be unmuted. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. This is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
yes,
Thank you. I want to clarify, I read through the draft minutes of April 12th, and I find it curious that it's noted in there that Mr. Serrano, director of the Santa Cruz County LAFCO, encouraged your board or said it would be all right to keep with the ad hoc committee that had already been selected that included community members. I saw that and it raised a flag for me because he and I have discussed that very issue, and he was completely he felt it completely inappropriate. At least I understood that there would be community members on an ad hoc committee of this type. It should only include board members. So can you please clarify that? I wrote to Mr. Serrano about it this afternoon. He did not respond. I don't know if he's on the Zoom meeting or not. I'm only coming in by phone, so have no idea who's here and who's not. But if you can clarify that, I think it is an important issue to be clear in your minutes as you move forward. Thank you.
okay, thank you. Becky, I think you've got 2 different committees confused. There is an ad hoc committee made of board members only that is having discussions with Scotts Valley. So those boards are made up of board members and the fire chiefs and the consultants from LAFCO. So that is the ad hoc committee. We have a citizens committee to get input from the community, and that's a different committee. So that is made up of community members and 2 board members, and is being participated in by Mr. Serrano. So hopefully that answers your question. So getting back to the consent calendar. Is there anyone there that wants to address an item in this consent calendar? If none, let's have a roll call vote. Nate, can you conduct a roll call vote?
Yes, Director Vanris,
Voting, yeah, aye.
Director O'Connell,
Aye.
Director Dodds,
Aye.
Director Meyer,
aye,
Director Landon,
Aye.
With all members present, item is passed. There are 3 items that require discussion and potential action. So the first one of those is to ask Chief Lackey to open the floor for public comment. No public comment. Okay, Chief Lackey, have you received any written comments or requests to address the board?
For item 5.1,
Yes.
no, I have not.
Yeah, this is 5.1, which is the communications and service agreement.
Yep.
So do any of the board members have a question for the staff?
No questions. I would like to say that our dispatch center has raised their rates for all the fire districts, police districts, ambulance and public works. However, it seems that somehow our costs have gone down around $500. So for next year.
Well, that's a good thing. That
Yeah.
doesn't normally happen.
Nope.
I think that's due to the amount of calls, isn't it?
Yes.
Thank you.
So
Yeah,
I'll
let's,
need a vote. I will have to send this off to our attorney, just for his signature as well.
okay.
Central Fire did send it to their attorney before it was sent out, and they made some minor changes, but other than that, it's the same as they've always sent us for review and
I
our
think
annual contract.
he actually already has a copy of it, so
Okay,
just write him a note and remind him.
okay.
Thank you. So let's take a roll call vote.
All right.
You need to make a motion to approve 5.1, or are we not doing that?
Yes, we are.
Pardon me?
Yes, we are.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve 5.1 agreement.
You have a second?
I'll second that.
So motion made by Director Veneris and seconded by Director Meyer. Nate, can you take a roll call vote?
Yes, I can. Director Vanris,
Aye.
Director Dodds.
Aye.
Director Meyer,
Aye.
Director Landon,
Aye.
Director O'Connell.
Aye.
So,
Okay, with all members present voting yes, the motion is passed. 5.2, continuation of remote meetings. Can you talk to us about this, Nate?
yes, this is the same. Let's see here. This is the same thing you guys voted on in January. This allows us to continue the meetings on Zoom, and we just have to ratify it again each meeting. So,
Okay, so at each meeting?
yep.
Okay, thanks.
So we'll
Do
need
you
a
have any comments from the public? Any questions by the other board members? Okay, let's close public comments, and if there's any other comments. If no comments, then let's have a motion.
Make a motion to ratify resolution number 2022-1.
A second. Okay, we got a motion by Director Veneris and a second by Director Dobbs. We do a roll vote.
All right, Director Vanrus,
Aye.
Director O'Connell,
Aye.
Director Dodds.
Aye.
Director Meyer,
Aye.
Director Landon,
Aye.
Okay. 5.3, approve surplus of 2 vehicles and approve purchase of chief vehicle. So can you let us know what this is a request for?
yes. Right now we have a truck that was purchased, I would say 8 to 10 years ago. It's got 100,000 miles on it and it's not repairable. It has a blown engine. So I would like to surplus that so we can remove it from our station. And then second, there was a Chevy Equinox purchased by the former chief. It was never outfitted with any equipment. It was never used. And I would like to sell that and purchase a truck, which would be more usable for myself. It allow me to carry equipment and gear and transport volunteers as needed, and be a little more reliable than the pickup we have now. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, Chief, do you anticipate the cost of the newer, probably a used vehicle, I would imagine?
Yes,
A cost and what you think you can get for the Equinox?
I believe I can get around $30,000 for the Equinox. That's about what we paid for it, and it hasn't really had any more miles put on it.
Okay.
We had budgeted $50,000 for it last year. I'd like to use the money from the Chevy Equinox and add it to that 50,000, and it should be. I don't expect it to be more than that, or I won't go over that.
So
Over the 50,000 or?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's all I had. That was budgeted. You said the extra
Yes, last
20
year.
is budgeted in for
Yes.
that. Okay.
I don't plan on purchasing it until after the new budget year,
Okay. Oh, which is coming out next month. Okay.
July 1st. Yes. Any discussion?
any other questions by the board for Nate?
What would we be purchasing again?
A truck,
Any type or kind or,
probably the best deal we can find.
okay, and then with a cost of about 50,000,
Yes.
when you're probably 2020 or newer?
I would like to have something with lower miles that's in good condition and reliable.
Kind of like to know what it is and what we're getting before approval. That's kind of where I'd like to know
Yes, of
for
course.
just the
Yeah, I just need some approval before I move forward, and you'll have something for the next board meeting.
So this would be an approval of a purchase of a vehicle is what we're doing right now.
You're approving the surplus of 2 vehicles now, and then I will come back with a cost and the vehicle at our next board meeting.
So what if the cost doesn't come in there and then we don't have the Equinox, which to me actually fits the needs that you have to get around town? Has seats for 4 people, and put down the back seat, you do have some room for equipment. Now, having done the job for quite a few years with a similar type of vehicle, I understand the difference between a truck and a command vehicle, but it's something that's there, and, if you're going to, I think you need to be clear about what you're going to get, whether you really can get the money you expect for those vehicles. And so, yeah, I think if we vote for anything, you need to do a little bit more homework.
All right, I can do that.
So, do we have a motion?
Well, actually, I think we would probably want to have that homework done and know what we can get before we surplus then the Equinox. Is that correct?
That's what I was asking, yes.
Okay, so in that case, would we table 5.3 until we get more information?
That's probably a good idea. I would think. So do we need a motion to table it until we get more motion?
Motion that we table 5.3 till for consideration in the June board meeting.
Do we have any more discussion over the motion that Tim just made?
Chair, I will
Yes,
note
you-
that you do have a member of the public that would like to speak on this item.
Okay,
Ms. Becky, you have been unmuted. You have up to 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. I was worried I wasn't going to get time. I'm concerned about this because at some point the board must have approved your former chief's rationale for buying the Chevy Equinox. And I agree with you, President O'Connell, that just because it hasn't been outfitted, that doesn't mean that it can't be. And it seems like it would be wise to review the thought processes of your former chief, why he felt that was a good vehicle for your district and for his use. It 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 could be, it seems, outfitted to be actually a mobile incident command center. I see those. I see that happening with many of the fire um, jurisdictions. They have a mobile incident command center that you can put down a tabletop and your computers and maps, and you've got a center out where you need it. So I think it is wise to table this for now, and also given the fact that right now um, new trucks and used pickup trucks are extremely expensive and hard to find. So I agree with the consensus to table this and really look into the cost of what would it take to outfit the um, the Equinox, and also how much do you anticipate getting by selling the 2002 Ford pickup truck with the blown engine? What would it take to repair that?
One
And
more
would
minute,
it
Ms.
be
Becky.
serviceable if it were repaired with the blown engine? Thank you. Oh, also, you've got to think about your merger. Is it wise to be buying new equipment if you're going to be dissolving into Scotts Valley, if that's going to happen? So I think you're very wise to table this. Thank you. That concludes my comment.
thank you, Becky. You brought up some good points, and so I think that those points should be addressed at our next meeting. Do you have any further discussion by the board? We have a
You do.
motion to
I think
table.
Director Dodds made the motion and I'll second that.
The motion made by Director Dobbs just to table the item until next meeting. Seconded by Director Ramirez. Chief Laggy, can you make a roll call vote?
Yes. Director O'Connell,
Aye.
Director Dodds.
Aye.
Director Ramirez.
Aye.
Director Meyer
Aye.
and Director Landon.
Aye.
So a motion passed by a vote of aye by all members. Thank you. 6.1, fire chief's operational updates. Chief Laggy, can you give us a presentation?
I sure can. In your board package, you should have a written out list of things I've been working on and where we're at. If you want, I can go over them right now for everybody in the district. As we talked to last board meeting, the roof repair, we're still waiting for the engineers. Again, we have no time frame on their getting back to us. The kitchen remodel is still at the county waiting for permits, and no time frame on that as well. Captain Perez has been in contact with the MPC Academy regarding recruiting, and he has not got back a date or a time to go down there. So hopefully his next shift, he will be calling them again and trying to get that handled. I did meet with Dora Crow regarding our website. She has a lot of good ideas and to make it easier to navigate. And I'm hoping to put a couple links to websites that'll be helpful for everybody in our district. For example, getting the burn permits and clicking on the website to be able to see if it's a burn day or not. And then also a link to the code red, so that way they can get emergency notifications through our dispatch center, which will be really nice to have. Some of you, I believe I sent out to you that 2636 had a little minor accident backing into the station. We're working with a body shop in town to get that repaired. I'm waiting on the final quote from them. Hopefully tomorrow I should have that. Captain Casey and I held interviews with 2 candidates for the admin position. They were both great candidates. We decided to go with Lily Stagnero, who's actually been doing the job already. And she started working on Monday, and it's been a great help getting all the paperwork needed. And I'm hoping that the board packets will be a little better from now on, now that I can get some help getting all that together with somebody else. Let's see. The sign for the board out front has been ordered, as with a number of things in the world right now. It's being delayed a little bit, but we should have that in 2 to 3 weeks, I'm hoping, and installed and ready to go. I'm working on the 2022-23 budget. Just had to wait for a few more large budget items like our workers' comp cost and our liability insurance costs. I'm hoping to have those early next week. And then as soon as I get that done, I'll push it out to the board for them to review and answer any questions. The temporary firefighter position is going great. We have 3 firefighters on duty, or 3 volunteers that have decided to take on that job right now. They're here every day. They're working out if they need a day off, they're finding their own coverage. We are tracking their hours on a spreadsheet, so we'll be aware of where everybody is and to not go over that 999 hours. And I think that's all I have right now.
Okay, thank you. Is there any public comments on the staff items or on what Nate has just gone through?
And on item 2, the kitchen remodel,
Yes.
what exactly is going to be done with it? And is there a budget for that?
We do not have a budget now. The plan was to remove one of the bearing walls. So we have to put a beam in and have that all approved by the county.
Is that to enlarge the kitchen then?
To open up it up a little bit, yeah.
Into the like the area where the TV and stuff is?
Yeah, we're gonna take one of those walls out, the little wall, and then the little storage closet and onto the right as you're looking in. That will be part of the kitchen now.
Okay. And the benefit of this is,
Larger kitchen to help with more people.
okay,
Any other comments from the public? I didn't just want to make sure that there wasn't any comments from the public.
Chair, you do have one request from Ms. Becky Steinbrenner.
Okay,
Ms. Becky, you've been asked to be unmuted. You have up to 3 minutes.
Thank you. This is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I would like to request knowing the name of the architect and the engineers that are working on this design, and if the board has approved the contract with that architect to do this kitchen remodel, and how much it has cost to draw the plans that are now at the county planning department. Can you provide that information?
Off the top of my head, no.
Has the board seen the plans?
I believe so. This is all started before I took over.
But I'm just hearing from the board that it's sort of a new project for them, so maybe that would be good information to bring before the board, the plans that are at the county planning department, and who the architect is, the engineer, cost for providing that information, those plans to the county. That's not cheap. Yes. All right, thank you. That concludes my comment, and I hope that that information will be part of the next board pack.
okay, Nate, can you look into the plans?
Yep.
Get that ready for next meeting. Any other comments by the board members?
Yeah, Chief, on your budget, I assume you'll have a projection for the unfunded liability for PERS included in that budget?
Yes, I will. I already have that.
Oh, yeah? What is it?
It's about 128,000.
Is that gone down a little?
No, it went up a little bit,
Oh, okay.
just a little bit.
All right. And
But I'll have all those numbers for you in a full report for you to review of the changes and
I'd also, Chief, I'd also like to know if you can find out from PERS their future projections on the unfunded liability costs. If
okay.
don't they usually have like a, I mean, it's always going up and it's always changing, but I think they have a table of numbers or what they expect it might go up in the next few years. I just want to know if you have that if you can get that information.
I believe I can get that information.
All right, thanks a lot.
And I will look for that.
Thank you.
I do have a few comments on the operational update. I think it's a great thing that Lily has been hired, and we're moving forward on that. I'm still a little, I kind of wish that the sign has been up. It's a minor thing, but I thought we could have gone with coating a piece of plywood and using markers to let people know when meetings are if we have to continue to wait more and more weeks. So doesn't sound like 2 to 3 weeks is a sure deal. And if it's easy to do it, we had discussed that before, and I thought that was something we could look at. I think it's great, really great, that 3 volunteers are stepped up and are working now. That's a huge thing. I was wondering why every time I go by, there's at least 3 people there, and they're energetic, and it's a good thing. So that's good to see. That's a big thing. So I hope this program will show up to work. So those are both great things. And as far as working on the website, I hope you were able to work with Dora to get that moving forward. Thanks. Okay. Any other comments by the board? No action required. So the next is status update on reorganization process. Nate or Joe, would you like to do the report?
I'll defer to the chief and I'll be here if you have any additional questions for LAFCO.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
So the committee, the ad hoc committee met, let's see, April 27th. Unfortunately, I was out of the country at the time. But from what I've been told, they, let's see, discussed the next steps of the process and how to get the information out to the community the best. We don't have a date set for the next meeting, but I was told sometime in June or July. So I don't know, Chair O'Connell, do you have any additional things that I probably missed?
No, I think that, like I said, a lot of things were discussed, including the need to come up with options should the potential for a vote would fail. What would happen so that we're prepared either way as to moving forward, how things will occur. So again, it's early in the process. The discussions were beneficial for both sides, and we're getting a better feeling about where we look on things we need to work on, and there was a lot of things that we agree on. So that's a good thing in the process.
Chair, do you mind if I provide additional comments?
No, I think that will be appropriate.
Thank you. Good afternoon, board members. This is Joe Serrano, Executive Officer of LAFCO. I think Chief Lackey and Chair O'Connor are being modest. There has been significant progress in the last few months by this board and your staff after adopting that resolution to start the reorganization process and adopting a pre-reorganization agreement showing good faith to work with LAFCO and Scotts Valley Fire. You've really been proactive in not only submitting an application to start the process, but really redefining that resident advisory committee and getting the involvement of your residents to really help you move forward with this new endeavor. On top of that, this board is working closely with Scotts Valley Fire and LAFCO as part of this joint ad hoc committee. And what the group is working on right now is developing a schedule to have a series of community workshops, because as we're moving, we're still in the preliminary stage of the reorganization process, but residents have questions, board members have questions, and that's why collectively the three parties are getting all their ducks in a row to prepare themselves to answer those questions in a series of workshops coming up in the next few months. So as Chief Lackey mentioned, our next joint meeting will be sometime in June and July. And that, on top of all that, this board also distributed a request for proposal to hire a consulting firm to do this benefit assessment analysis to really figure out what the true cost is to fund the fire station, which is something that all three parties and the residents want to see, is that the fire station remain open. So now the question is, how much is that going to cost and how does that affect the residents? So again, this board has been very busy in the last few months, and I do want to give kudos to the board and your chief and your staff for really moving this forward transparently and jointly with the other two parties, meaning Scotts Valley Fire and LAFCO. So again, there's a quick update in LAFCO's perspective, but You're doing a great job and keep it up. And I like the transparency that this board has implemented these last 2 months.
Thank you, Joe.
I like to say something.
Go ahead.
I would like to request from this ad hoc committee some kind of something, as far as minutes are concerned. I mean, I appreciate what Joe just said and what you said, Pat, and that's all great and dandy. We got a schedule we're planning, and there's going to be bumps in the road along the way. I would just like a little more drill down and in written words. Is that asking too much? What do you think?
Well, I can tell you that at this time, that is asking too much. Can you explain that a little better for us, Joe?
Well, Chief Landing raises a good point, and that's something that the joint ad hoc group is working on, and developing something in writing to really define what the goals are for the reorganization, what are the obstacles. That way we have something tangible. Right now we're in the brainstorming phase, and that's why we're now transitioning to, okay, let's get stuff in writing. So I think that will be in the works, and once that's available, it's definitely going to be presented to this board and your community. And on top of that, I think it's something that this ad hoc group can do is have action minutes. That way there's more transparency with the discussions. But again, we're in the
Yes.
preliminary stage. And yeah, so that's something that we can do as we move closer in the process. And that's something that LAFCO can help develop with the coordination of the two districts.
Yeah, I think that would help a lot, especially because what it does is it shows a little bit of the roadmap to the community, which, in the end, this is what it's going to affect, the community. So if we had some, like you said, Joe, action notes, summaries, some whatever, that we know what's going on, sort of where it's going, where it's headed. Just, I mean, as a board member, I really like to hear a report once, this verbal reports are good. I'm taking notes, and that it'll probably be in the minutes, somewhat. So that's good. But anything more would really be helpful. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dick. Thank you, Joe.
Chair, you do have one hand raised from the public.
Okay,
Ms. Becky, you've been asked to be unmuted. You have up to 3 minutes to address the commission or the board.
Hello, this is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
yes,
Thank you, Mr. Serrano, for joining this conversation. And I support the director, I don't know which one it was, that asked for some sort of summary to be presented from the ad hoc committee to your board. I think that, as Mr. Serrano says, really lends transparency for the public and other board members. But I discourage action minutes because they really tell you nothing. It simply records who made the motion, who seconded it, and what the vote was. You really get no information about what the discussion content included. So if action minutes are taken, I assume that these ad hoc committee meetings are via Zoom. It's a very simple matter to record those Zoom meetings. I request that those meetings be recorded and made available on your website and to your board. That would really lend a deeper level of information for those who are interested and who would benefit by knowing it. So thank you for that, and I hope that there will be some discussion among your board about what you would like to see the goals include. My concern and interest is in those 14 or maybe 20 by now FFT2 uh, wildland firefighters that Mr. Norton has brought forth as volunteers in your district. I'm not hearing anything about those. And how would this merger include them or not? And I think it's very important to keep them in your community, active, training, doing vegetation management projects. And I hope that will certainly be kept on the table as the ad hoc committee moves forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. We're going to move on to the board.
Oh,
of-
hold on, Pat. I have a comment on that. That was on my mind as well. You know, since I wasn't at the last meeting, the wildland firefighters. You know, a lot of people don't know what the FFT2s are and, you know, what their role, what they could be doing. I know, well, perhaps in your ad hoc committees, you can also be bringing that sort of conversation in so that when you're ready to present what you've been discussing, that would be included as well. You know, they're wildland firefighters, maybe only 5% of the calls for the district, but I think there's a huge concern out there, and that would probably be understating that. So I hope that is discussed in the ad hoc committees and presented as well, or at least discussed, so that the community knows more where all that can fit in, or what they can be doing. Thanks.
Okay. So, yeah, it was addressed last meeting and you weren't here, but there was a request, you know, to talk about this, but there's more information that needs to come, and it needs to come from Chris Norton to Chief Lackey. And that has not happened. And he's been asked to do that before. Because there's no information on, there needs to be more information about how this could work, but there's also needs to be a discussion about issues that are there that make this difficult to happen. So again, I think he needs to, this is an operational issue, and it needs to be discussed with the chief who is in charge of operations. And at this time, that needs to happen so that something can be presented to the board.
Chief.
Thanks. Yeah, unfortunately, the minutes only generalize what was said. They don't go into the details. So of course I missed a lot. Thanks.
Or you have some comments?
Chair, I was just going to mention that you have another member of the public that would like to speak on this item.
Okay, go ahead.
Adam Shore, you've been asked to be unmuted. You have up to 3 minutes to address the board.
Hi, thank you. The question actually it's under this other business, and maybe it's something that you could answer best, Joe, is, you know, given the huge budget surplus in the state of California currently, and elections, you know, well, they're right around the corner, et cetera. Is there any advocacy or any work that's been put into obtaining additional funding for fire departments? Is that anything that is available or is underway?
Chair, would you like me to respond to that comment?
Well, yes.
Mr. Shore, good question. And that's something that the Joint Ad Hoc Committee is looking at, is what is the current and existing revenue streams, just like what's the current expenditures and liabilities. But to this more high-arcing comment of statewide, that's something that's not been discussed yet. That's something that this board and Scotts Valley Fire may want to explore as they move forward with the reorganization process, if there's any additional funds that may be available for fire districts. There is an issue statewide with volunteer fire departments and their financial and operational struggles. So it's unknown at this moment whether or not there's monies available for specifically for fire districts. But that's something that this group can explore as we move forward as well. So good comment.
Well, thank you. But is that kind of under the auspices of LAFCO, or is there a different central organization that would be communicating to the various local fire departments?
Yeah, so that's not under LAFCO's purview. So we don't explore for statewide funding that's available. That's something that the board can explore on their behalf, or if this group wants to look at collectively together, we can do that. But that's not something that LAFCO typically does.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Okay, got any more discussion? If not, let's move on to 7.2, staff presentation.
I think we have 6.3 still.
6.3 still.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not on that.
Yeah, 6.3 is the
Direction
potential.
of,
Yep.
direction of possible purchase of a Type 6 engine.
Okay. Listen from my list. Okay, so 6.3, can you let us know what this is all about?
Yes, I would just like some direction. The previous chief had brought this up several times. And, I've never personally had any direction from the board on how to proceed on this. So if the board would like me to move forward on this, I can do that. If you want to table it for now, that's fine too. It's something that's popped up in the past, and I just want to get some direction on which way the board would like to go on that.
Okay, the Type 6 was brought up as a possible quick response unit. That would be very good if the station was here, or even anyway, for future work. Possibly if the merger occurs, the Type 6 would be a desirable vehicle. However, at this time, it would be hard to justify purchasing something of that cost when we have so many other things that we need to try to spend our money on, particularly the volunteer program that we're introducing to make sure we have staffing, which is our top priority to be safe. So wouldn't necessarily say we couldn't keep doing a little research on the cost of Type 6 should that ever arise as something later in the process that needs to be discussed, but would not be a priority to try to purchase one right now. But
Okay.
looking into the options might be worth checking out.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, 7.1 is Board of Directors report.
Hello,
Yes,
this is Becky Steinbrunner. I didn't hear a call for public comment on this.
on the Type 6.
Yes.
Okay, we have, you obviously raised your hand.
Yes, they did.
Go ahead and comment.
Thank you very much. I would like to see. I heard Mr. O'Connell. I heard you say it was not a priority, but what are the other board members thinking? I didn't hear a call for discussion by the board. I frankly think it's a good idea, given the fire season, given the. I mean, Chief Sweden was well experienced with wildland fire and felt it important to add to the response vehicles for the district. It could even be put up in the upper reaches of the district, as the district has done in the past. So I'm a little confused, I guess, that purchasing a Type 6 response fire engine is not a priority, but expanding the kitchen is. So help me understand that. And again, I'm not in your district, but if I were, I would be asking that question big time. And I hope that the elected board members will weigh in on this. I think to summarily dismiss it without any discussion among the board and perhaps other members of the public is not serving the public well. So, and I don't mean to be insulting or anything. It's just this is a big issue in an area that has narrow roads, small bridges, and this can get into areas that maybe a larger engine cannot or not as easily. We've heard that the engine had an accident backing into the bay. So let's consider this again, if you will, please, a Type 6 fire engine for quick response to some of the more difficult areas in the district. I hope the board will discuss it.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, I'll weigh in on the Type 6. I would agree with Chair O'Connell on basically putting that on hold for now. I would probably even go as far, if our goal is in a merger with Scotts Valley, to get their input on that, if we are going to pursue it. That's my take on that. I would agree that I hope the kitchen remodel doesn't cut in too much into the budget. That I'm sure you need the space, but I hope it doesn't cost that much. Thanks.
Any other comments from board members?
I'll weigh in real quick. And I've been, since I stepped on the board a little over a year and a half ago, uncomfortable with large equipment purchases when we are in such a tenuous position, both financially, but also within our management structure and the merger that is in front of us. I am more comfortable pausing, go ahead and gather information. So if the time would occur that we want to acquire a Type 6, that we've done research already and know exactly what we want and have it spec'd out. So I would encourage, Nate, as you look forward to the other vehicle surplus and fitting out the other vehicles, that you add that to the list to explore. But I agree with pausing until we know what our structure is going to be, whether there's anyone at that station house, or if we are fortunate enough that our constituency sees the value in it, then we know that we're investing our money into the future. So that's my take on that, Becky.
Chief Lackey.
Yes, sir.
Tell me the differences between our 3 and a 6 engine, and what the wheelbases would be and maneuverability.
A Type 3 is on an international cabin chassis, and it's 4-wheel drive. It's taller. The wheelbase is about 1.5 feet longer than a Type 6. Fortunately, right now we do have a Type 6, so we're able to respond. This was more of a replacement for that because it's coming up on its age, and the little things are starting to break on it. So again, we already have one, so I'm not worried about not being able to respond to areas of the district.
Thank you.
Any further comment?
Chief Lackey, is there investment that needs to be made in the current Type 3 that would make sure that we are doing what we need to extend its life in an appropriate manner?
Into the Type 6?
Yeah, I'm sorry, the Type 6 that we have.
No, it's just you know, the age is coming up and it's a very heavy vehicle. So, you know, it just, you know, we like to, according to NFPA standards, we need to replace our vehicles every 20 years. Just for the reliability and, you know, when larger issues come up, they tend to be more expensive the older the vehicle. So
There are no known issues right now.
not at this moment, no.
Thank you.
Okay. I agree with Tim on a lot of what he said as far as purchasing a piece of equipment at this particular time still has me concerned. But based on the age and all these other ideas, you know, again, can look into the costs and see what it would take and what opportunities we have, but I think we do need to get further in the process before we can actually make a decision like this comfortably. We're being asked to do a lot with what budget we have. And just to clarify for Ms. Steinbruner, is that the kitchen remodel is all a part of the Measure T funds, which are available to do the station repairs as needed. And that includes the station remodel that was already in the works for quite a few years now. So there's no further discussion. We can move on to the next item. I think we were getting to point 7.1. So is there any questions or comments that would deal with board of directors report? Okay, do you have a report, or did we already do this? No.
This is your report as a board of directors, if you had any committees or anything that you guys need, that you've gone to that you feel you need to pass on.
Okay.
And I think most of it came at the ad hoc meeting. So
Yeah, no, I
and I'm
think
aware.
we've pretty much gone through, I think, things that we would talk about.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything else on our list or things to address as far as the board of directors report. Do any of the board members have anything they want to address? Okay, let's move on to 7.2, which is the staff reports. Okay, Nate, it's all yours.
You guys should have those reports in front of you already. They're just the monthly reports that we put together for the board. And if you guys have any questions on those, I can answer them.
Okay. Any questions? Did we have any questions from the public? Okay, so let's move on to the next agenda item, which is the order. Anybody have anything?
You want to talk about correspondence?
We have correspondence 8.1 and through 8.4.
Oh, okay.
We'd like to discuss those, or I can discuss those.
Okay, go ahead and discuss those. That's
8.1 is the Girl Scouts of America for Northern California now, and it's a notification that they plan to use the Girl Scout camp on Olson Road. I haven't, it's the same thing we get every year from them. And then they, just to let us know that they're gonna have camps there. And then we'll have to go up and do an inspection to make sure the kitchen's in appropriate order and make sure they have all their safety equipment.
Were they opened last year?
They did not. We had the same report last year and then they decided not to.
Because it seems like they've been closed for a long time.
Yeah, I have to contact them and find out if they really plan on opening or not.
Okay,
The 8.2 is the county clerk of elections. You guys should have in your packets the elections information.
yeah, we're seeing it.
You have that?
Yeah,
Okay. So that's just telling us what it will cost to do an election. We do have 2 members up for election in June, so I'll be figuring out what we have to do for that. November, my apologies. So we'll have to plan that. That'll also give you some information, I believe, on putting a tax measure on the ballot.
okay.
Omega Nu, that's they do their fundraiser every year. And for the last several years, we've sent the water tender and staff to, and mostly volunteers go and they fill up the tank so the little duckies can come sliding down. And it's just a thank you letter from them for us helping them out.
Glad to see we're still doing that.
Yes, yep. And 8.4 is a letter from the Fire Officers Association requesting to open up negotiations. Their contract expires January or December 30th. So they would like to get a start on this sooner rather than later. So I'm assuming the board will have to set up a negotiating committee at some point.
Yeah, we'll have to do that with the board, so.
Yeah.
Put that on the list for next meeting.
Okay. And that's all I have there.
Public.
Joe, did you have a comment?
I was just gonna inform you that you do have a request from the public to address this board on this item.
Okay,
Ms. Becky, you have been unmuted.
Thank you. This is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
yes,
Thank you. I want to point out that in the letter from the Santa Cruz County election clerk, August 12th is the deadline. So if there is going to be any ballot measure regarding the new benefit assessment tax, I don't see how that could happen since your RFP will not become final and the engineer's report will not be in hand. So I think it's premature to think about putting the benefit assessment tax on the November ballot. That's my opinion. Second of all, I did write the board and on April 12th, and it is not included in your correspondence. What is your policy for? I wrote to, addressed it to Chief Lackey and Connell. I did copy other board members, but shouldn't my letter also be included in correspondence? And why is it not? I raised several questions in it and asked for discussion about amending the RFP to include a good fire hub, not proposing to close the station and make it a good fire hub training center, but rather adding that in. And my correspondence is not included. So what can we do about that to get that on record?
I apologize for that, Becky. I did not get that in there. I don't know, Director O'Connell, how would you like me to proceed?
well, I didn't know that there was a letter. And at this point in time, we'll have to put it on the next board meeting.
Okay.
But yeah, we are aware, Becky, of the November deadlines for for tax measure, and we do not anticipate us having a new tax measure ready for November. So that's kind of a moot point at this point in time.
What about the issue of amending the RFP to include a Good Hub Fire Training Center as an addendum in the RFP? That's what I was hoping your board would discuss.
I think we're going to have to discuss that next meeting, if that's in there.
Will that be too late in terms of the progression of the RFP and putting it out for the consultants?
Joe, can you address that? Because I believe the RFP is already gone out.
I will note that when it comes to the RFP, its primary focus, which is what this board and staff have indicated, that the number one priority is to keep the fire station open and operating with at least a 2-member crew. So the RFP's primary focus is how much does it cost to fund the 2-member crew, and what's going to be the benefit assessment for the residents. Now, any alternative approach for the fire station's purpose is going to be evaluated by Scotts Valley Fire, Branson 40, and LAFCO as part of our plan for service. So that could be something that can be analyzed internally, and this RFP can continue just to primarily focus on the cost for the residents, because that, again, has been identified by this board as priority number one. But that doesn't mean that we will exclude any additional analysis as part of the plan for service.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, any further discussion? Then we will move on to good of the order. Anything for good of the order? Okay.
May a member of the public chime in on this?
The staff or boards have any items to discuss before adjournment? This is eventually for the staff and board at this point in time. What's your question?
Ms. Becky, you've been unmuted. You can address this
Oh.
commission on this board item.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm having a little difficulty hearing President O'Connell, so my apologies. Thank you for helping me. In the minutes of April 12th, I read that Director Landon asked for a presentation to the board by Mr. Norton about his work, his vision for the FFT to firefighters, and I would like to request that Mr. Landon's request that be put on the board agenda as a presentation, in fact, be put on the June board agenda to include as an agenda item for discussion and information. Can that be added to the June board agenda as Director Landon had asked at the April 12th discussion about all of that it happen?
Well, I'll repeat what I said earlier, is that Chris Norton needs to talk to Chief Lackey. He has not done that yet. There's some discussion that needs to go on between Chief Lackey and Mr. Norton. Needs to provide some more information. So if that occurs, then perhaps it can be on the board. But until that does, it's an operational matter, and it's up to Chief Lackey to present that to the board. All right. The next meeting will be on June 16th. And do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Motion was made, a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All those in favor, motion passes with all those in favor. Thank you to the board and to the public for participating, and to Mr. Serrano. Thank you.
Thank you, board members. Thank you, Chief. We'll see
Thank you,
you
everyone.
in a month.
All right,
Thank you.
take care.